Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. Let me adjust this a little bit. There we go. There we go. Today I'm going to do the Intimidating TBR Book Tag. This is a tag of doubtful provenance. It is uncertain who invented this tag, but I was tagged by the imperturbable Justin at Triumphal Reading. And if anybody knows who created the tag, I will put that into the description box below. Thank you, Justin, for tagging me. If you have not been to his channel, I will link his version of the tag also in the description box and encourage you to check out his channel. There are about 9 prompts for this, which I have scrawled on this piece of paper, which is very confusing. So number 1, what book have you been unable to finish? If you are following my channel of late, you will know that this book has been a bear for me. I DNF'd it ultimately, or rather removed it from my TBR into my pile of possibilities, so to speak. I have not ejected it permanently, but I do not intend to get back to it anytime soon. I was unable to finish. Number 2, what book have you yet to read because you just haven't had the time? And I pulled out a few because it's more an author than a book. J.M. Coetzee. Elizabeth Costello is the name of a novel. You would almost think that it was a biography of J.M. Coetzee written by Elizabeth Costello, but no, Costello is a character in a novel. I've heard good things about it. I've also heard good things about this by the same author. This, I believe, is in 3 parts, possibly 3 short novels or novellas. Heard wonderful things about it. Memoir, more than novel, I believe, but I haven't found the time for this author as yet. And Disgrace, this is the book that pops up in my neighborhood book box more than any other title, I believe. I don't know which one to choose, and I just don't feel, when it comes down to it, that I have time for him. I've read his literary essays, a number of those volumes, but I just don't have time for the author at this time. Number 3, what book have you yet to read because it's a sequel? And I'm going to go with Anthony Trollope, North America. It's not exactly a sequel. He visited the United States during Civil War times, and I would very much like to hear what he had to say. But his mother spent some time in the United States and wrote this book, which was a tremendous success. I don't recall the story behind it, if she supported her family via the proceeds from this book. But if his book is not a sequel per se, he was very much aware of this book. And so I would like to read his mother's book before I read his book. What book have you yet to read because it's brand new? Well, there is a new novel out by Morgan Talty, who wrote The Night of the Living Res, which I read last year and loved. That was a collection of short stories. I don't tend to buy books just new. I have gotten burned doing that, and that will come up in a moment. But I loved Night of the Living Res so much that I want to place a high priority on Talty's debut novel, and I'm looking very forward to it. Number 5, what book have you yet to read because you read a book by the same author and didn't enjoy it? Well, there are a number of books that It's not like me to, on a whim, go out and buy every book I can find by a specific author, but it did happen a couple of years ago, and I'm not quite sure what got my enthusiasm so worked up. That author is David Graeber. I have Bullshit Jobs and I Have Debt, both which sound like they're right up my alley. I would believe that his politics is very much in line with my own politics. I have worked a ton of bullshit jobs, and I have had moments in my life where I was in debt. And so I believe books devoted to these topics are probably worth the investigating. However, I read The Utopia of Rules, and I did like it, as I recall, but I cannot remember very much about it. I read another book by him, a very short one. I forget the title, and I got rid of it. I liked parts of it, but it revealed to me that Graeber is the sort of author who recycles. And I came across passages in that book which had been in another book without giving any kind of credit or attribution as to which book they belonged to first. You know, sometimes an author will quote himself, and that is entirely acceptable. But to just patch in something from another book without any notification does not seem appropriate to me. This, however, is not the book which dissuades me from reading further books by him. I bought and read The Dawn of Everything when it came out, which he wrote in tandem with another David Wengrow, and really disliked the book. The book essentially said that everybody who's thought about the history of the world or this subject, everybody is an idiot, and we too have the true answers. So you can disregard everybody who's ever put thought in. And I disliked the tone of the work so much, as well as how sloppily it was put together, and the incessant criticism of, I think, Rousseau. The same quote was referred to about 15 different times, just merely to denigrate Rousseau. So it gave me a bad taste. I realized I have this, and this I tried to read and DNF'd. You would think Slavery in Madagascar was right up my alley as well, but the book was just, it was just awful, and I can't remember why. I shouldn't say awful, it just, well, I don't remember it well enough to say. But between this and The Dawn of Everything, I don't expect I will be delving into debt or bullshit jobs anytime soon. Number 6, what book have you yet to read because you're just not in the mood for it? This has been on my TBR for 40 years, quite possibly. 30 years at least, but quite possibly 40. I am speaking of The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. This book is about 1,000 pages long, and it focuses on economics. Now, I have read another book by a member of his coterie, I guess you could say, or his cohort, and that was The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire by Edward Gibbon, which I really loved. And I believe that if you are going to read only one book by that ilk, a writer of that ilk, that it should be Gibbon and not this. Gibbon's magnum opus has influenced how I look at history ever since. And it's been a couple of years since I closed the covers on that, but I keep thinking about it. Old economics, I don't know how relevant it is to new economics. I recently read Galbraith, and really enjoyed it. I believe that the prose is said to be marvelous, but I'm just not sure. I have to really be in the mood before I go into this, and I just am so seldom in the mood for economics. What book have you yet to read because it was a cover, because it's humongous? That's number 7. The In Search of Lost Time or Remembrance of Things Past by Marcel Proust. That's pretty humongous, I would say. I'm about 2/3 through Swan's Way, and on my immediate TBR, I hope to finish Swan's Way and then just leave the rest for serendipity. It's humongous. There's no other word for it. I did like what I read. Number 8 must be. Yes. What book have you yet to read because it was a cover buy that turned out to have bad reviews? That does not happen to me. I seldom do cover buys anymore, but even if I were to, I do not read reviews. A few times in my life, probably 4 times actually, I have been a subscriber to the New York Review of Books, which is nothing but reviews, I want to say. They have a little bit else in there. But all in all, I think it was a waste of time for me. I don't see much use to reviews unless it's something by an author like Mary Beard, whom you are particularly interested in. And then I would read the article because I wanted to hear what she had to say, much less because I was interested in the books being reviewed. It would usually be 3 or 4 books in one review. And every issue would have at least 1, if not 2 pieces like that. But I am not in the industry. My reading is not at all dependent upon new releases. So reviews matter little to me. I follow a couple of booktubers who are book reviewers, and I will check to see what they have written about a book if I hear about one of their reviews. But in that case, it's less because I want a professional review than that I simply want to hear what their reaction was to the book in question. Number 9, what is the most intimidating book in your TBR pile? And absolutely the most intimidating book is Joseph Anton, a memoir by Salman Rushdie. A lot of people were reading this at the time that he was stabbed. He could well have lost his life. As it was, he lost an eye. And people were reading books by him, and many specifically chose this book as a way of supporting the author. And I found it at a reasonable price at an old-time favorite bookstore of mine, and so I picked it up. I would like to read it, but it has going against it the fact that it's a memoir, and I dislike memoirs, but I am curious to know about that window of time, that period of time. Joseph Anton was the alias that he was using as he went about his life. And I hesitate because I wonder if I should just rather instead buy a copy of his essays in which he talks about censorship and that sort of thing. That is more my style of book. Memoirs are not my thing, and then a 600-page memoir is really not my thing. Now, this is what he looked like at the time this book came out. I've never read anything by Rushdie, and I don't know if a memoir is the right place to start. I've read an essay here or there in a magazine, an online periodical, and so I liked what I have read, but that book just intimidates me. A runner-up for the intimidation category is The Emperor of Maladies, of All Maladies, pardon me. When I was younger, I read Jerome Groopman and Atul Gawande, both medical writers, doctors, more or less in the vein of the genre that Oliver Sacks opened up, sort of case studies where he would profile people. And their books did a lot of that. Atul Gawande went on to other things, talking about prisons and how solitary confinement is torture and that sort of thing. I love Gawande very much, but I have not delved into medical reporting or writing for a long time. And this just, it's not short either. I think it's about 500 pages. And so I'm not sure that it will be the thing for me. I am okay with reading ugly topics. I am reading Ned Blackhawk on the history of the United States, and there is exposure aplenty to ugly scenes. And so I think I could handle the subject, but I'm a little bit squeamish. So finally, I would like to tag a few booktubers, and let me preface this by saying that do not feel under any obligation to do this tag. I would like to hear your reaction to the prompts or questions, and to make it easier for you, I will put those into the description box below. So first, I will tag Gareth at Books, Songs, and Other Magic. He's been putting out a lot of videos lately, and I'm not sure that he will have time for it, but I would like to hear what Gareth has to say. Then Renee at Beyond Books. She has been focusing a lot on banned books and does a really lovely deep dive when she approaches the topic. Really marvelous stuff, but all of her videos are worthwhile. And then I would like to also tag Bookless Pete, whose reading tastes are a little bit divergent from mine, but he has a very fun channel, and I am curious to know his responses to these prompts or questions. So I will leave this here, and thank you for stopping by my channel.